The HACKLIKE era has begun. After Godlike settled the battle between him and Joshua, he still hated his country, especially now that the same players that called him trash in the country wars are the same ones that are cheering him on. Godlike hated NA servers so much that he decided to leave and started to visit servers outside his region. On these journeys, Godlike met famous content creators, hackers, hacking content creators, and verified hacking influencers. Outside NA server, Godlike was just an average player versus these hacking content creators. Godlike tried playing with them on popular streams, but sadly, raw talent and training will never overcome a tool, because training can only make a go so far. Back on North America server, Godlike was framed for hacking because he won Joshua. His country, no, his server hated him, and he grew more hatred for them over time. It was one man versus the world, and the world was winning. So he left. Yes, he left North America, seeking a new server to settle on. He went to MENA, SSA, Brazil, South America, Europe, India, and Thailand. But he always had two problems: the ping and all the players, content creators, were using hacks. The specific hack was metadata for PC and mobile. Metadata is a famous hack originated in MENA for mobile players because it was a tool to fight against PC players that used panel to fight the mobile players. It was the prime version of hacks in its time. It had three forms: 50%, 75%, and 100%. All these percentages was to highlight how close the aim got to the opponent's head when shooting. 75% was aimed at her neck. So all you needed to do was drag a little for headshots, while 100% was aimed directly at the opponent's face. A friend of Godlike offered to give him the same hacks all the content creators are using. Godlike refused at first, but he thought about it. He has been playing raw since 2019 and had no support, but the hacking content creators got more support in less time. Godlike was puzzled and wondered if he should take this offer. Godlike was lost in this decision. A couple days later, Godlike was playing in Brazil server and fought a famous content creator that had 800k subscribers at the time. Godlike lost that fight 7-2. And after the fight, the content creator told Godlike he was hacking and asked why Godlike wasn't using his hacks, implying that on this server, hacking is nothing to be ashamed of. Godlike laughed and said, "On my server, we don't support hackers." The Brazilian replied with a laugh, taunting Godlike for making such a stupid comment. The Brazilian then replied, "Godlike, my friend, why waste your time sharpening your skills if I can surpass them with a simple file?" In that moment, Godlike had no words. "If you continue with that mindset, you won't be known as the best," he said, laughing at Godlike. Godlike then asked, "I'm already being accused of hacks on my own server, so why would I start to use hacks now?" "Then leave that server behind," the Brazilian replied. Godlike, shocked by this comment, lost for words, he went offline, thought about everything the Brazilian said, and made up his mind. Godlike accepted his friend's offer. Godlike decided to leave NA server behind. He decided he will start using metadata as the other YouTubers, and he finally agreed to everything the Brazilian was saying. Godlike made up his mind. Hacking on iOS was unheard of, but on that day that Godlike installed the modded Free Fire and played on a bot account to see if it was legit. Godlike realized it was all true. He played the exact same as the others. And on that day, Godlike told himself that he will never return to North America server and will only be moving forward from this point, a decision he will regret. Godlike made two rules to himself, though. The rules were he would never 1v1 anybody on any server or use the hacks on his main account in any server because he didn't care about being the best. At the time, Godlike only cared about being known. Godlike traveled to servers knowing the hacks wouldn't get any account banned and made his name famous in almost every single server. Godlike's TikTok was growing and he stopped streaming on YouTube because he had no headsets, so all he did was grind for content using the hacks he now got. Godlike was playing mostly 1v6 on streams, making his name, and in 1 week, Godlike was already moving from 30k followers to 45k. Godlike was growing at a rate unmatched. Godlike then buffed his metadata-loaded Free Fire and created a in-game sensitivity for the hack. Yes, you heard me. He created a sensitivity for the hack because the hack was just another version of Free Fire with the aimbot adjusted, which means he could still miss, get body shots, and die with ease. When your sensitivity is too high, for example, over 40%, you will be missing all the shots you shoot while using the hack. But if your sensitivity is under 20%, you will always hit the headshots. Even the Godlike was using hacks. The hacks took skills to master. Godlike has now mastered the metadata. He traveled every server, made new fans, stopped playing on NA server, and started to meet popular content creators that would love to do scripted fights and post on YouTube. But Godlike, he missed NA server because every server he went to, he had no friends, only his self. He couldn't enjoy the servers because of how bad the ping is. Godlike missed NA, but knew he couldn't come back after the decision he made. Few more weeks passed, and he did come back to NA, but he stopped hacking. Regardless, though, because his server thought he was hacking before, they assumed he was always a hacker, but they couldn't be more far away from the truth. Godlike made the decision to get exposure for his channel and his TikTok page, for this was the only way he could have gotten exposure fast. Godlike was getting accused of hacking on his main account now. He was hacking, but he would never hack on his account. Godlike got hated more, but didn't care. He already made up his mind, for he hated his server for how they acted towards him. People started begging Godlike to 1 versus 1 popular players on streams, but Godlike declined. He made a promise that he would never play a 1 versus 1 again. If Godlike did play the 1 versus 1 and win, people would say hacks made him win. If he lost, they would say he is a bot for using hacks and still lose, even though he was never hacking on his main account. In just a few weeks, Godlike was targeted on NA server for being a hacker, and now influencers, YouTubers, TikTokers, and streamers started to accuse Godlike of hacking in NA, but Godlike didn't care. He already gave up on his server and decided this is the only way. He then went on Gain's stream and told Gain about the hacks because many players in NA server was using the hacks since January 2022, influencers as well. These players all kept it hidden and acted as if they were the best players in this server, but all they were doing was hacking in the shadows for clips to post on YouTube and TikTok. Godlike then decided to tell some more YouTubers like Shamsum, Smiley, and more about the hacks, so that they can inform the NA players, and he told them how it works, so that the NA players could find all the frauds on the server, acting as if they were raw when they were just hackers in disguise. A few days later, after this, Godlike got suspended, but it was very suspicious. Godlike got suspended on the account he never used hacks on a server he never used hacks on, but all the accounts that he used hacks on are not banned. Godlike was confused and decided that he will investigate more. Meanwhile, the entire server turned their back on Godlike again, but this time Godlike didn't care. Unlike last time, Godlike has gotten numb to these players' emotions and decided that his will is all that matters. Exactly 1 day after Godlike got suspended, metadata was in shambles. Free Fire updated the game and found out how to bypass the metadata anti-ban system and banned every single player that used it. 2 days later, Godlike contacted Garena using the Free Fire support site on Google about his account suspension, but never got an immediate reply. Meanwhile, with the investigation, Godlike made an interesting discovery. Godlike realized he didn't get banned for using hacks, because when a player reports somebody, they will be notified in their mail that the player they reported was banned for using hacks. But this was not the case with Godlike because nobody got a mail that he was hacking, but many players on NA reported Godlike. So he decided to ask 3 of his close friends that are influencers if it was possible for an influencer to send his ID to Garena to be banned, and all 3 said yes, it's possible. 2 influencers told him that an influencer has sent Godlike's ID to Garena, and then Godlike realized he didn't get banned because of hacking or reports. He got banned because an influencer sent his ID to Garena. The funny thing though is this influencer also bought hacks, but it wasn't from Godlike's friend. Godlike's investigation was paying off. The players then begged Godlike to not expose this influencer for what they did because they are friends as well. But Godlike needed an explanation for his account being banned. And the only explanation was for Godlike to say, I got banned due to too much reports. But in reality, he got banned because an influencer thought he was hacking in NA and decided to get him suspended. After Godlike's account got banned, he was stuck between quitting Free Fire and starting over. He made up his mind in 1 week and decided to play back Raw, but not on any other server. No, he decided to play on NA. He decided that this will be his get back, the rebound. Using hacks for 2 months had a lot of side effects. Godlike has adapted to low sensitivity, dragging due to the hacks, and now he needed to make a new sensitivity for his raw gameplay. Godlike needed to learn how to scope headshot raw, get full reds with SMG raw, win 1 versus 4 raw, and to be the best. Godlike lost everything, his associates, his supporters, and his previous self. He knew he made the wrong decision turning to hacks and couldn't forgive himself, but he needed to make the get back. He needed to be godlike. But first he needed an account. Godlike had a friend at the time. He was Jamaica's most dangerous account thief, and he goes by the name Gifted. He was the only person Godlike could trust for buying an account because they both lived close together, and so Godlike messaged him and asked how much he would sell his account for. Gifted said, "My account cost 400 US, bro, but since we friends, just give me 100, but you have to make me a promise." Godlike then replied, "What's the promise?" Gifted then replied, "You will be the best player on the server because me giving you my account means that I'm giving up the game and passing on my legacy to you. So please, my friend, be the best." Gifted then gave Godlike the account and made it public. He quit Free Fire and started to do music instead. Now Gifted is very famous for his songs and is known as Skang Little Brother. Godlike changed the account's name and started training by himself. He had no one and decided that this was the only way to pay for his wrongs. Godlike became colder and decided that he has to become the best. A few weeks into training, Godlike has regained his strength, but something was different. It was like the hacks was embedded into Godlike, for now he has started to play like his HACKLIKE ERA self. But this time he was 100% raw. He learned how to scope headshot raw, how to full reds with SMG from distance, started to playing solo versus squads, and he finally mastered the art of mobile. This player used his experience of using hacks to perfect his own raw gameplay to a point where it's like he was still hacking. He started playing on streams again, and still he was hated. But he couldn't care less, for he made a promise to his friend before he quit that he will be the best, regardless of what happened. A few months later, on September 6, 2022, Godlike got a mail from Garena saying his account with the ID 102191345 has been unbanned. Godlike didn't believe it. He was lost for words and immediately rushed to log into his old account to see for himself. But Godlike had just bought a new device, iPhone 13 Pro Max, and couldn't log into his old account because he was using a two-factor authentication app to keep his account secure, and now that app is on his old phone, iPhone X. Godlike was happy his account is unbanned, because now this was solid proof he wasn't hacking in NA. But he still needs to open his Facebook account to access his Free Fire account, and that's the end for the HACKLIKE era. But the final chapter is next. The rebound.